Welcome back to CryptosRUs. I am George. We're all George. So today we have a slight Bitcoin weakness, but there is one headline I think we need to pay attention to because that relates to what's really going on behind the scenes. And I'm going to talk about what that headline is and what else is going on in the world of crypto today. Also, I do have something to address real quick, but I will say that thanks for tuning in first. Let me do my intro. Thanks for tuning in. As always, smash a like, subscribe to the channel, 2 streams every day, 11:30 and 8:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. So make sure you hit that notification bell and follow me on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and CryptosRUs.com. All right, thanks for tuning in. A lot of you guys are talking about my video last night. I'm hearing that other people are talking about it as well, other channels. Here's the thing. I regret it. I regret it from this standpoint. I brought up someone that was not talked about, and I brought up a project that was not talked about for a very long time. And unfortunately, through my rebuttal, through my response, now I am drawn more attention to the project and the person. And that is a negative thing. That is a negative thing. So I'm not going to talk about it anymore. I don't want to bring more attention to them. That is the last thing I want to do. So despite right now, everyone else is trying to get this person to come on their show or to debate. What it's really doing is bring him more attention and bring more attention to his project. And that is not something I want to see. So you're not going to see me do any of that. Okay? So I'm just going to address that right off the bat. All right, let's move on. Let's move on from there. So, starting with Bitcoin. 32,900, so slightly down from yesterday, 5%. I know. Overall market is down slightly, about the same percent, 5.75%. BTC dominance still relatively holding. So what caused today's dip? Well, it's pretty obvious, I think, at least. 2 reasons. Number one is there is more global market turmoil. And if you look at the Dow, what is the Dow at? Negative 200 and everything else dropped. Because there's some fears about COVID and about lockdown, about wearing masks again and all this stuff, right? So it came out of Japan. Basically, the Olympic Committee in Japan saying that they're not going to allow anyone to attend the games anymore. They're having emergency lockdown or something like that. So there's some global turmoil over this. People are wondering if this is going to lead to something bigger. So we don't know. We don't know. It's still early. But this is what's causing global markets to sneeze a little bit, and it's having effect on Bitcoin overall. But again, this is something that we have seen many times before. I've talked about FUD headlines, FUD in general, and this is not the headlines we need to pay attention to. I'll get to the one where we will, the one to pay attention to. So besides this, we do also have some FUD, or yes, FUD. I don't know how else to describe it, from Elizabeth Warren, who has come out and says that the SEC needs to regulate the crypto exchanges hardcore. We need some oversight ASAP, and she even proposes like a deadline to do so. So obviously, a lot of people don't like to hear this. We already have crypto regulations, and she wants more of it, a lot more of it, at least within the United States. So this is also causing some fear, uncertainty, and doubt this morning too. So when you have the global markets having a sneeze, and you have Elizabeth Warren again stressing we need more regulations, this is going to cause some FUD. Yes, it's going to cause some FUD. All right, what else is there? Looking at what's happening today, I want to bring up this really quick. I saw this. Wells Fargo tells customers is shuttering all personal lines of credit. And the funny thing is, when they close your account, they even say it might impact your credit score, even though this is not your fault. So if you have a credit line with Wells Fargo and they cancel your account, you're going to get penalized for it. even though it's not your fault at all. But why is Wells Fargo doing this? Well, it's because, if you guys don't remember, a few years ago, Wells Fargo, okay, created 3.5 million fake accounts to boost their numbers. And it also said, they also confessed to forcing up to 500,000 customers into unneeded auto insurance. They force people to buy unnecessary auto insurance. And despite admitting that they have done this, if this was an individual person, they would be facing some serious jail time. But what happened with Wells Fargo? Well, the Fed put this asset restriction on them, like 1.9 billion, under 2 billion or something. Despite that, they're still thriving. They're still doing well. Their stocks was doing well. So this is just a slap on the wrist. But this shows you why people hate banks, why people hate the Fed, why people hate the banks, why there's distrust in it, and why DeFi overall is growing by leaps and bounds. Because when the banks, who are deemed too big to fail, when they make a mistake or they commit fraud, it's just a slap on the wrist for them. No one goes to jail. They don't get punished. They don't get closed down, right? It's just a never-ending cycle. Money laundering happens all the time. They get fined. That's it. No one goes to jail, right? So there's a lot of stuff that's going on. This is why I believe in DeFi. It's early, I know. DeFi is nowhere close to replacing all these big banks yet, but I love to see DeFi grow and evolve, and I think it will. And this is why so many institutions are planning on increasing their cryptocurrency exposure. So this is the headline to pay attention to today, okay? 82% of institutional investors plan on increasing their crypto exposure, which includes Bitcoin and includes altcoins, and it definitely includes DeFi, right? So I think this is a fantastic thing. This is what we need to focus on, okay? Not short-term volatility, not what Elizabeth Warren is trying to do, or why Bitcoin went down 5% today. What we really need to pay attention to is the bigger picture, what's happening behind the scenes. Yes, there is a lot of interest. There's a lot of buying. There is even more money waiting to buy. There's a lot going on behind the scenes. The market is still early. It's very, very early. This is not a saturated market. This is just the beginning with crypto and DeFi and blockchain and everything else that comes with it. This is the beginning stages of the internet or the mobile revolution, right? So this is not anywhere near the top as some would claim or want you to fear. But take a look at this, a survey by Nickel Digital Asset Management, which conducted a poll among institutional investors and wealth managers from the US, UK, France, Germany, UAU, and 82% responded saying that they're going to increase their crypto exposure between now and 2023. And 40% said they would dramatically increase their crypto holdings. 7% said they would reduce, and 1% said they would sell their entire holding of crypto assets. So it's not all positive. 8% said at least they would reduce or sell, but that's 8%. What about the remaining amount? Well, 82% of that said they're going to increase between now and 2023, which is interesting because they're not even... a lot of people are anticipating that after this year, after 2021, there may be another bear market, a crypto winter, right? So they're not even taking that into account. Or maybe they are. That's why they said now till 2023. But again, this shows you, this headline, one of many that I've shown, within the last 4 years. There's interest, and things are still early. This is not time to be focused on the day-to-day. It's time focused on long-term, on the future, right? Why most of you guys are in it. You're investing for the future, right? And that's why I'm in it and why so many people are in the space. All right, what else is there? Something else that's breaking news according to Cointelegraph. Stablecoin firm Circle is going public in a 4.5 million, no, not million, billion blank check deal. They're unlike Coinbase, they're not doing an IPO. They're doing a reverse acquisition, I believe, or a reverse merger. No, they're just doing a merger. Reverse merger doesn't even make any sense. They're merging with the blank check company Concord Acquisition Group, and the deal is worth $4.5 billion. So after this, they will become a publicly traded company. And that's a fantastic thing. That's a fantastic thing. Also, keep in mind, Circle and Coinbase, they're the founders of USDC, which the dominance is going up. It's replacing USDT, and USDT dominance going down, and we know that's a fantastic thing, right? A lot of uncertainty around Tether and its roots and Bitfinex, and the more dominant USDC becomes, I think the better it is. The better it is for an entire space. All right, what else is there? Let me see. There's this. Some people have asked me about, well, what about this $500 million, GBDC unlock in July? And I've responded to this already, but even this article and whoever they interview basically said there's not a concern. Here it is. So you could see that there is a big amount here, about 16,000 that is unlocked. And then after that, it actually tails off pretty substantially until it just becomes nothing for a while. So my response to this is, well, look at Michael Saylor just bought $500 million worth of Bitcoin recently. Didn't really affect anything. They did it, he did it through OTC market, right? Obviously, he didn't place a $500 million buy on Coinbase. That would have been insane. And I would love to see him do that someday, but that's not going to happen. It's not realistic. So he's going to do it through OTC market, which really explains why it didn't move things. But this kind of unlock will do the same thing. It will be the same thing if the institutions decide to sell, or Grayscale unlocks, yes, and then they decide to sell. I mean, it's still going to be done through OTC market. Doesn't mean that they're going to sell on Coinbase. That just doesn't make any sense, okay? And plus, most of these institutions that bought in 6 months ago, according to the article, they had an opportunity to sell already, and they didn't. So a lot of them will be sitting. And I expect more of the same, because right now, if you go back 6 months, Bitcoin in January, February was around this price, 30,000 to 40,000. So a lot of them that bought, they actually bought at a higher price. And the fact that there's no major premium, and they're actually a negative premium right now, if they do decide to sell, they're selling at a loss, which these guys would not be doing. There's no reason why they would be selling at a loss. They could be holding this on for another 6 months or so, and that would make a lot of sense. So I think worst case scenario, in my opinion, and I could be 100% wrong on this, worst case scenario, if all of them decides to dump simultaneously and just take a loss or whatever, right? It'll probably affect the market somewhat, but the bulls will eat it up. But I do anticipate we're going to see basically a non-movement, and nothing. We're not even going to notice it once it unlocks. That's what I'm guessing, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. All right. Lastly, it's been pretty quiet. I haven't talked about Michael Saylor for a long time, I guess. If you count 2 or 3 days, a long time. So here's one of his latest tweets. Sovereign debt has a negative real yield and no longer serves as store value. Capital is being forced out of this asset class into riskier investments, creating a monetary premium on real estate, stocks, corporate bonds, etc. The solution is to replace bonds with Bitcoin. If you look at the Squawk Box, basically people are again panicking about the fact that our 10-year U.S. Treasury and 30-year Treasury, the interests have fallen down quite dramatically. So today it just broke 1.3, which supposedly it's not a good thing. And if you look at the 10-year from countries around the world, like Germany's already in the negative. In many other countries in Europe is close to zero and heading into the negative. So is it going to happen again with 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 the U.S. bonds or U.S. Treasury bonds. Maybe we had the same kind of scare last year. Last year, if you guys remember, when we had that Black Swan event back in March, and in April, we had the same kind of scare where people were saying that a 10-year bond was going to go to negative, that things were so bad, no one wanted to buy U.S. Treasury bonds, that you would just, people are just selling them off, right? And since then, we have seen it come back, but now it's coming down. But what Michael Saylor is saying, I think is true. Again, these institutional investors that are trying to protect their wealth, what's the point of holding on something that pays nothing, that could actually yield negatively, especially if you factor in inflation, right? So where to go put their money into? So they're putting it into assets that have been doing much better, like real estate, which has been so hot, and same thing with stocks. I can't say about corporate bonds, but it sounds like that's another solution. But of course, another one is Bitcoin, which is why a lot of people decided to buy Bitcoin between 2020 and 2021, something that we haven't really seen before. So pretty interesting, pretty interesting. All right, guys, that's all I wanted to say. If you look at today, 1.39, relatively speaking, the last few days or last few weeks, we still had some good upwards momentum for some altcoins. For example, Ethereum, despite today being down 8%, is still up 3% for the week. You got Binance Coin is still up 10%. Cardano, Uniswap is still killing. A lot of the DeFi projects have been really killing. And the same thing with NFTs. Some NFTs projects have been doing really well recently too. All right, that's it. Let's do some Q&A. All right. I scrolled up. Let me see if I missed anything. A lot of people still talking about who that I'm not going to respond to. All right. Scrolling down. Someone mentioned Aave. Someone mentioned about crypto.com. We know crypto.com just inked that huge UFC deal. So I'd question whether or not it's really going to bring more users to their platform, but it's a 10-year deal. So there's going to be a lot of eyes on those trunks that the fighters will be wearing. So we'll see. Maybe it does bring a lot more people to the space, but we'll see. But Aave, Compound, a lot of these DeFi projects recently, even I saw Synthetic, and there's a lot in the space that has been coming up. I know it's not back to its previous highs, but they're coming up. I think, that's why I wanted to show this article about Wells Fargo, right? It seems like, it has nothing to do with anything. I mean, this is the reason why people hate banks, because there's so much control, regulations, and, I made this example before. You want to take out $10,000, they're going to ask you 100 different questions why you want to take it out. If you want to deposit $10,000, they're going to ask you 100 different questions why you're depositing $10,000, where it came from. And they claim it's all KYC and all this and that. I truly wonder if every single question they ask you is really related to KYC. And plus, they can tell you whether or not you can spend your money or not. A lot of banks will not allow you to buy Bitcoin. They won't allow you to buy on Coinbase. And now Barclays won't let you buy on Binance, right? It's your freaking money. They allow you to buy lottery tickets. They allow you to buy other things, but somehow not Bitcoin, right? And if they commit acts of fraud or they screw up like in 2008 because of the mortgage crisis and the toxic mortgage, whatever they were, they get a slap on the wrist. And even when Wells Fargo admits to creating and basically getting their customers to falsely buy auto insurance they don't need, what happens? They're still operational, right? This is the reason why I think so many people are turning to DeFi, because with DeFi, you could basically skip banks. You If you need to borrow money, you can. You just put down collateral, right? If you want to put down your money to earn interest, you want to loan it out, you can, right? So essentially, that's why DeFi is so important. Brian asked about Binance Coin. Well, Binance Coin is still sitting at number 4. You know, I've been supporting Binance for quite some time. I mean, ever since they came out in 2017, they just leapfrogged everyone. I still remember Bittrex was the dominant exchange everyone wanted to be listed on until they shut their own doors and Binance came along. And then since then, they've just kept the lead, right? Right now, I know that there's regulatory uncertainty, but they're working through it. They still have their chain. They still have new projects coming on board, right? So I don't believe they're going anywhere. That I talked about many, many times. You know, they have the in. They have the in with China, and that's a big thing. That's a big thing. So I do believe they will be top 10 eventually, and maybe even higher than that, right? I've created so many videos, so check them out. Even one recently. Crypto C Houston says, Sheeb and Sheeb Swap was just rated one of the least secure projects by DeFi Safety. Okay. Let's see, what else is there? Bitbeard, I don't know. If you're the first, if you just started your channel, probably not. You probably need to grow it a little bit. It's not easy to grow a channel. So I encourage everyone to start their own channel. Everyone, you know, it doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be crypto. Anyone that has passion about anything, it could be cooking, it could be fitness, it could be about your life or being parents or cars. It doesn't matter. I encourage everyone to start a channel because if you can make it through, it's definitely worth it. It's definitely worth it. So, Bitbeard, I'm glad to see that you started one. So, hopefully you do well. Thoughts on Parsk? I've looked at Parsk before. They're like an easy way to look at data and actually create like notification. Like it's almost like you create a bot with it. So you can look at many things, you know, withdrawals or what's happening with a certain price or something, and they make it very easy for you to analyze data. So I mean that's who they are. I mean it could work out well, but I don't know. Okay. I'm trying to scroll down. I already talked about that. Slayerman asked about how does OTC market impact price? It doesn't. That's the whole purpose of it. If you're a large institution or you're a large whale or you're Michael Saylor and you want to buy as much as you can at a certain price because that's the most advantageous way for you to do it. If you have $500 million, let's say you go buy 10,000 Bitcoin or 14,000 Bitcoin or whatever it may be, you want to know that that's how many Bitcoins you go get. Because if you try to do it on the spot market, you're not going to get that 14,000 Bitcoin. Because as you're buying, the price goes up, so you might end up with only 10,000 Bitcoins, right? So OTC market is just like you're finding a seller that agrees, okay, I'm going to sell you 14,000 Bitcoins at $500 million, right? And then you make the transaction and no one knows about it. That's the best way to look at OTC market. So that's why when there is large purchases, it doesn't affect anything. It only starts affecting the price is when reserves from the spot exchanges start drying up. And we have seen that before. On Coinbase especially. In Coinbase, in 2017, there were times where the Coinbase premium was like $1,000 to $2,000 more than everyone else because everyone was jumping on Coinbase and buying, and they actually ran out of liquidity. So they purposely raised up the price until they could get more. So overall, the reason why Bitcoin's price is going up and trending higher is because the reserves on the exchanges is decreasing. And as it decreases more and more and more, well, you know what's going to happen. If demand goes up and supply goes down, you know what happens to the price then. Meld, I can't find it. Sorry, Logan. All right, scrolling down. All right, I'm trying to find. Chat today's a little bit different. Let's just say it that way, a little bit different. What else? Did I miss anything else? Is now a good time to get into the graph? I think the graph is a pretty good project. It basically helps projects to come up with APIs. Specifically like, it doesn't have to be DeFi, but DeFi projects and want to share data about like, say how much liquidity they have, TVL, stuff like that. You could use the graph to create APIs, and then other projects could use, say, Chainlink to grab that data from you. So that's basically what graph is. I think it's necessary in this space, but it's not very exciting. I mean, it's not like, as a retail investor, you're like, okay, it's more like a B2B kind of thing. Pancake says, I always ignore his super chats. What did you super chat? I didn't see anything from you. Daniel asks, utility BPRO tokens for devs to hold for governance and use for recurring fees? Yes. And if you want to utilize their white label services, like their project, their code base, you use it to pay for it. So yes. Ivan asks, DCA worked pretty well for asset. Now the price is above my average. I am in a profit. What comes next? Just hold on. It depends. It depends on how much you're up, right? If you believe in a project, you can hold long term. But if you made a good amount, you could take some profits and just leave the rest, right? So it really depends on your situation. I'm trying to scroll up and I don't see anything from that person that claimed I missed his super chat. Compassion Eye, VET is a sleeping giant. Invested Doge at the same price of VET now, but VET is a real project. Feels a no-brainer. Yes, I mean this is the thing. Did you know Cypher Indicator is free on RX? Oh, I didn't know that. I should bring that up. Tiger King. No, I'm not gonna look at Tiger King. I know it's based on some show or something like that, but no thanks. You met Matt says, looking forward to your interview with Altcoin Day later. I met Aaron in Austin a few weeks ago at a crypto meetup. Oh, interesting. Where? Yeah, I've been meaning to talk to those guys for quite some time. I mean, we've been talking, or at least I talked to Aaron a few times over email in 2017. I never met them before, so. But hopefully it's a good chat. It's gonna be a lively chat, like how I had it with Jason. Some people are not used to it. They love to see like really serious like interviews. Nope. If I'm interviewing someone, yeah, I'll bring up points, but I like to keep it live, casual, and just have a good time. So, and I think the brothers will have a good time tonight. What do you think about Polkadot? I think they're still doing fine. A little undervalued in my opinion. A lot of the money for Polkadot went to Kusama. So Kusama has actually been doing better than Polkadot recently. But that's because Parachain auctions is happening on Kusama right now. Once that's all complete, that it moves to Polkadot, and then I think it'll flip. One Ledger, not sure about One Ledger. Yeah, too small. Volume is way too small. So, yeah. In LA, okay. Thoughts on Everpedia? Yeah, Everpedia, you know, I've given up on. They're basically, their claim to fame was they had the entire repository of Wikipedia because they brought in one of the co-founders. Since then, that co-founder left, and it seems like they have not updated it. They were trying to do NFTs, and then that got them some attention, but then it's just like, it went nowhere. It went nowhere. All right. All right, last few questions. Adam Wild says, I didn't watch Tiger King because I respect my intelligence. That's a good answer. Tixel and... okay, last few, that's it. Tixel. I think I looked at this last time. Yeah, I have looked at this before. I forgot what it was about, honestly. I think it was just a new chain that allows you to... it's a DAG plus blockchain, and I guess there's some advantage to that. I looked at this very early, and I don't remember what the main benefits are. But it does look like it's lost all traction. Phil, fundamental killer TA dot. Okay. That's too many questions for one. But I appreciate that. I don't even know what the question was. All right, guys, that's it. Thanks for tuning in. I mean, today, slightly weaker, and there are FUD out there, right? But the one to pay attention to is this one, the headline that I chose, because it does show there is still interest. They're still buying. There's going to be more buying, right? Everything is still very early, and that's what you need to focus on, long term. You're investing long term. All right? That's it, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Tune in tonight, 8:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. I'll see you guys then.